Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Let's Talk Stroke. I'm so happy that you're here, and I am your host, stroke survivor Jerry Wald. And for those of you that aren't familiar with what I do, I started doing this show to bring awareness of stroke, TBI, aphasia, brain injury, and also to provide a platform for all survivors to share their stories and from all across the world, and also bring on experts in brain health. So they can share their expertise of what we all go through with a brain injury. So also to let you know, today's guest is very special to me, Tammy Dercoli, and we're going to discuss her stroke and all the positive messages and interesting facts that she's going to share with us. So please do me a favor and share this content because you don't know who's out there that can use this message. So please make comments and also make sure you ask questions because Tammy has a lot to say and it's pretty awesome. So let's go ahead and get started. Telling me to dance, taking a chance. All righty. Good morning, Ray. Good morning, Salud. Good morning, Michelle. Good morning, everybody. So let's go ahead and get this show started. Let's bring on Tammy. I'm so happy to see her. Good morning, Tammy. How, how are you? And I know you're on the phone, so you probably can't see the messages as clear as I can. But Michelle Ray, um, saying hello to you. Ray Magnus, same thing. Salute. And Salute just said, aloha, Tammy and Jerry, watching from San Francisco. Nice.
It's so good to see everybody here.
Yes, Naomi, nice to see you too. And also, why don't we just let's go start with we'll rewind the clock of who's Tammy before your brain injury, your stroke.
Okay, let's say my stroke is 15 years old now, or I'm 15 years a survivor now. My stroke happened on February 1st, 2006. I was undergoing an open heart surgery in a hospital in Pittsburgh that was kind of out of the blue. I wasn't expecting to need that surgery. I arrived at an emergency room with some stomach bleeding happening, and the exploratory surgery revealed that there was a mass on my heart called an atriomyxoma, which is a benign tumor. And they said that that tumor needed to come off. It needed to come off right away. So within 72 hours of presenting at that emergency room, I was on the operating table. That was February 1st. I went to the hospital January 28th. I was actually in the Super Bowl in Detroit, Michigan to watch the Steelers play. And that didn't happen. I ended up in the ER. They won, by the
Right.
way. They won that
Yeah.
Super Bowl. Just saying.
Yeah, you
So
remember that.
yeah, that was quite an event in the cardiac intensive care unit, being all on a ventilator and tubed up and everything, but the game being on and my
Wow.
family being there. We had a Super Bowl party right in the ICU. It was wonderful. So I don't want to
Wow.
dwell too much on that, but the back on the stroke is that's where it came from. So this girl who was headed to the Super Bowl was told she needed surgery, underwent the surgery, woke up in the recovery with her leg being held up by a nurse and being told to push and thinking that she was having a baby. So I had a stroke on the
Wow.
table and they're saying, push, Tammy, push with my left leg because my whole left side was paralyzed at that point in time. I ended up in a diaper in a wheelchair for a long time in the hospital, had to be transferred out of the acute care stage, which is like that initial hospital where you have your stroke or your stroke is initially treated,
Right.
into a long-term care facility or a rehab hospital, which most of us have passed through. That's where you learn to walk, talk, cook, occupational therapy. I feel when I think back on those days, both facilities, what a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful soul is implanted in a nurse before she becomes a nurse. The nursing
Yes.
places. I mean, honest to God, I underappreciated nurses. I overappreciate them. Maybe I don't know. But this pandemic has
Yeah.
really taken me back many times to what skilled nurses really have to face on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. Even the therapist as well.
Right. We're not the easiest cookies to digest. You know, if y'all think you were a cake stroke patient, I'm here to tell you you weren't. There aren't any. You know,
Exactly. I totally understand. You've got a great story though. I mean, your positive message when we talk all the time,
right.
and just you know what I just want to say it because I know someone on you were watching on salutes and everybody was trying to figure out your name. Well, we need to let everybody know it's Dircoli. It's not Der Coley. I mean, it's funny because we talked about that, so we have to make that straight. And hello, Heather and Yvonne Kent from Athens, Greece. Avril, nice to see you from Scotland. So it's good to have you all here. So sorry to interrupt. I just had to get that name out there.
I feel so worldly, man. Somebody from every continent. Holy cow.
You are worldly. Yeah. So
Fantastic.
yeah. So you had. I mean, you're a 15-year survivor, and look now and what you've overcome and how you're handling it. Your positive message. You're not letting it define you.
What amazes me is that everything that I've endured or gone through in my life, I feel like, there was a point in time when all these things had to be endured. Now, somehow magically, through this process of being a survivor and sharing with other people and being okay with my truth and my story and my injury, I've become one who enjoys these things as they happen, not endures them.
Right.
It's all
Yeah.
about enjoying the things as they come. Some gifts come really poorly wrapped,
Yeah.
Some lessons that I've gotten were like, oh my God, what is the value in this? This is awful. But, if you dig through it and you get to the bottom of the whole picture, you come out with the fact that there was something beautiful that you needed to learn. And guess what? You might need it for the next pile of shit that falls in front of you. you know, it's awful. I have a really bad mouth. I just do. That's the way it goes. But
Yeah. Get over it. Right.
I feel like each one of the processes that we go through, if I told you that my stroke was the only bad thing that ever happened in my life, I would be making up um a really untruthful story. I've
Right.
had horrible, horrible things happen in my life, and I didn't have any means to support myself. I leaned in the wrong places to get myself stabilized when bad things happened in my life. When my stroke happened, I had no tools, but my stroke happening forced me to a bottom where I
Yeah.
needed to have tools to like get out of it.
Right.
And
How do you do that?
the tools to me are forging connections with other people who understand. Your doctor will take care of your body, your health needs,
Yeah.
but you need someone to vent your feelings out to. You need to bleed your depression out. You need to have support of people who really understand what it feels like to walk on broken glass. Because
Yes.
that's what some of our feet feel like a lot, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And just to say one thing, Salute is saying, Tammy, I love the fact that you acknowledge the medical staff, and Stephen Albright's here saying hello, and Erica's here. She made it. And Lynn from Pennsylvania, saying hello to you too. And Yvonne from Athens Greece says there's something positive in everything.
Absolutely. I believe that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I listen to a Buddhist monk who preaches. I don't talk about religion a whole lot, but he just kind of teaches more so about the fact that this dung, for lack of the proper word, the word that I like to use is poop or whatever, happens in your life. All of these defecations of life happen, right?
Yeah,
So a wise human would go over and scoop that up and take that to their garden and cultivate a fruit or a vegetable or something purposeful with this waste that, it just seems like to be not necessary in their life. So you turn your waste into fertilizer. Bad things that happen, use them to grow you, grow yourself, and make yourself better and more able to help somebody else with it. I mean, shit happens. Let's just say what it is. Shit
yeah,
happens. Is it shit or is it fertilizer?
right.
How do
Absolutely.
you look at it? Really?
Yeah. but you've overcome all these little obstacles in your life, and I mean, other things you were talking about, and stroke just happened to jump into that as well, and that was caused by an open heart surgery.
Right. And I just had a pacemaker put in 3 weeks ago for people that don't know me. That my heart was probably a little affected by COVID. I did have, I believe, a suspected case of COVID early on in the pandemic. Had 2 times that I thought I may have had it, and that could be true. I'm vaccinated now, but between the exposures, the probable cases, and the vaccination, I believe that to be why my heart was like inflamed and going through an inflammatory response. It just makes sense. So I went to my doctor, got the pacemaker put in 2 days after he told me I needed it. He told me on September 3rd I needed it. September 17th it was in, and today's October 12th. We're 3.5 weeks out, and I look like I could be on a makeup commercial, maybe. I don't know. My
Absolutely.
skin is
You
like pink. I'm not like gray or pale or
what?
any of the things that I was a few weeks ago.
Yeah, you said your heart rate was like very low or something.
Oh, my heart rate resting was 32 beats per minute, and 50 is low.
Yes,
60 is
absolutely.
good. And now it runs about 62, but I want to get it up to 72 to 78 because I stay active. I take a walk every day. And when I'm in my apartment, like doing my chores, I put the music up a little louder to make me dance and move a little more. I live in a real small, modest senior apartment, and I love it.
Right.
But as we talked about, that may be changing. I'm
Yes.
looking at something twice the size of this in the Sunshine State, and it's really, really exciting to me to think about the fact that I could be living in a home again. My
Right.
my stroke cost me my home. My stroke and other things. Um, I was able to take care of having a home in Pittsburgh for 10 years with my 4 daughters, which I should probably mention the fact that I have 4 daughters. They're grown,
Yeah.
wonderful, amazing, feisty, wild women. One of them is a stroke survivor too.
Yeah. Talk about that. That's just crazy. That
Want to break right here
she
to Katie?
understands. Yeah, she
Okay.
understands what what we go through.
Yeah, we'll talk about my 4 daughters. I have one. My eldest daughter is 34 years old. My second daughter, I believe, I lose track of the numbers. I can't do the math anymore. I believe Carly is 29, and Katie is 27, and then Allie is 23. And Katie was born with something called tetralogy fellow, which, if you have any nursing cardiac background, you understand the pediatric congenital heart defect, meaning that they're born with it. It has 4 parts to it. One is a distorted arch to the aorta. One is a faulty or defective valve in the heart. The other is a hole in between the ventricles. And then the other is the pulmonary arteries are a little hypoplastic or skinny. So Kate met all the diagnostic criteria, had the tetralogy of Fallot, was told that she would need repair between 18 months and 2 years old when she was 1 week old. That was devastating news to
Wow.
get, but I was ready to
Absolutely.
deal with it with her and mom her. Well, when it all came about, she lasted 45 days and she needed the surgery on the 45th day. They admitted her. She was in trouble. She was in cardiac trauma or stress. So they did the surgery on August 1st of 1994. She was born June 17th. And from that day forward, she did what I just did with the pacemaker. My baby that was ashen gray turned into this lovely shade of peachy rosy pink, like overnight. So her heart
Wow.
surgery was a success. She had these big ruby red lips, and she was just like a knockout baby, right? She's 6 pounds.
Wow. Wow. Just
So
incredible.
that's my Katie story. And I mean, Katie is the person that when she was 2.5 years old, she had a seizure. And that revealed that they would have to do the CAT scan MRI, which we as stroke survivors are all familiar with. I only had a baby that had a bad heart at that point in time. But then she had a seizure and there was a neuro presentation. So somebody said, we think she had a stroke. Somebody else said, we think she just has a birth defect back there that might be normal, but a defect for her because she had a heart defect. It wouldn't be uncommon that she might have a brain defect too. So I'm a mom and I don't want to hear that awful word
No.
stroke. What a shitty word, stroke, right? So who wants to hear anybody had a stroke, right?
Exactly.
TIA is a nice fluffy little thing. TIA is a
Yeah.
nice let's just say it's a TIA or something, right? That's kind of
Yeah.
cool. That's pleasant. Stroke suck.
I know. And did you go? Because I know a lot of people ask one of these questions. Well, hello, Marina. Nice to see you, and Chandra and Brad. Nice to see you too. There's Did you go through the? I hate to go back to the isolation part. How'd you feel? After you had it, and you feel like you said, this sucks.
Well, for me, my sole job and purpose on the planet was to mother my children prior to, because we did start talking about who I was before. I was a Girl Scout leader. I was coach of softball team. I actually was the commissioner of the 5 and 6 year old age division in the softball league in Pittsburgh at the time. I was active in PTA, the art and drama, and book fairs, book sales, cookie bake sales, all of that stuff in my local PTA in my school. And I went from that human to being this lump in a chair in a diaper that was trying to
Yeah.
learn to walk and talk and read again. And my mom lived 500 miles away at the time, so she was not able to engage in my recovery at that point. I had a couple of friends that did their best, but they didn't know how to deal with somebody with a brain injury, and I became
Right.
quickly too much for everybody. My mom helped my eldest daughter get her own place and take herself out of the fire. And that was probably the best thing for her. She was 19 and it really wasn't her job to be taking care of me.
Right.
So my mom was able to help my daughter get a place. And then, of course, my 15-year-old had a place to escape to too. So she's like gone with Sissy. And there was
Wow.
that little 11-year-old and 8-year-old at home. And I'll tell you what happened in those weeks was beautiful for those two children, awful probably from their perspective. But as adults now, my 11-year-old knows that she's the only 11 at the time. This is Kate. This is my stroke survivor. Katie also had a stroke.
Right.
So at 11, she became my caregiver. At
At
11 years,
11.
stroke survivor herself, right?
Right.
Putting her 8-year-old sister on the bus, putting a glove on my swollen hand every morning before putting my figure eight harness brace on my shoulder, making sure there was food on my nightstand to get me until she got off the bus in the afternoon. That kid went through like a lot of stuff, and now as an adult, she said to me, I told Jerry this last night, I'm going to share this just because it's funny, it might be offensive, so if you want to mute me, go ahead and mute me if you have language issues. My daughter Katie says her sisters, they want to understand, but they often see my malady as being the fact that my left hand doesn't work. I haven't had the hand mentor, I haven't had access to it yet. I've not been able to afford it, so I have a hook. I have a hand that doesn't work, but it is rehabable. I just haven't been able to get access to therapy for it yet.
Right.
So my daughter Katie believes that everybody sees my malady as this, but
Uh,
Katie is one of us. So Katie knows the injury's here. The injury is
yes.
inside the noggin. It has nothing to do with the hand, right?
Right.
So Kate says to me, Mom, these are the bitches. They ain't never gonna get you. I get you. I, and she didn't mean to be offensive to her sister. She was just saying, Mom, I understand. It's the headaches, the mood swings, the racing thoughts, the over planning everything, the trying to be organized with a very disorganized organizer, and all of that stuff.
Right. So true. I mean, we talked about that, and we do understand each other. And now, Katie, Kate understands, and it's funny. Well, not funny, but it's funny that we understand. Like you said, the our spouses or significant others that have had no brain injury, they don't get it for
No,
the
you
most
got to
part.
get a we. You've got to get a we. And if you're a caregiver, I love what you're doing. I love
Yeah.
your support. I love where your heart is coming from. But the most compassionate, kind thing you can do for your survivor is get him or her or them with other survivors. They need a place to cry and not feel like they're a burden to you. They
Yes.
need a place to learn what works for other people. I mean, this hand, I eventually, a year after I had my stroke, I was able to teach myself to read again. I had taught my kids to read before they went to school. So teaching reading was a process for me, but I had to learn my reading style and learning style. It was with a broken brain. I had to
Yes.
learn how to modify my life with a brain that was broken and was no longer like brilliant, you know. And now I think my brain is brilliant. My capacity to learn is good. I just do it in a different way because I accommodate the fact that there are pathways that aren't as quick as others, you know?
Right. And here's what before this salute says, "Oh my God, Tammy, I loved when you showed how you cook." Danielle, nice to see you. Stephen says, "We call it my stroke broke moments." And you're right. People who have had a stroke truly understand. And Salute said she didn't have a stroke, but she understands she actually did have a brain injury. Um, but I just want to bring some of these comments, and you'll see them afterwards. So,
Right.
but
So on the modification thing, like what I was starting to say was I finished learning to read and I enrolled in community college. Had never been a day in college in my life. Very college bound out of high school, was going Air Force ROTC. I was a bright girl. You know, I had a
right,
lot ahead of me. And then I had a little baby. And so my plans got detoured to become a mommy and a wife. And
yeah,
that clearly wasn't my calling. I did it, you know, for the many years that I did it, but there was more for me that I was supposed to accomplish when I was here. And it has something to do with the people that are watching right now. You know, my kids are grown and they survived their childhood, they survived my stroke, and we've learned a lot about the impact of trauma and embracing your trauma and understanding how it makes you act today. And I will tell anybody who has a brain injury of any kind, salute. I love her so much. She, if you don't know salute Linda, friend her like now would be good. She's a powerhouse and she will help you. She will help you learn the caregiver side if you have someone you're taking care of, and she will help you learn to understand your survivor. You know,
and it's yes,
there's a lot to be said for bridging the gap between being a caregiver and a survivor. And Salute and I, and Jerry, you and I have both talked about where my experience in life brings me to a place where I have experience with both of those. I raised a survivor
yes,
and I raised her to think that there was nothing wrong with her. She was not to ask for special anything other than
right,
if she got tired in a softball game and she said, Coach, I need to sit. She said, Coach, I need to sit. And he said, there's no sitting in softball. I said, dude, with my kid, there is. You know, you teach them to understand. You teach people, you know, be honest about what you're dealing
yes,
with. And until you learn to get a voice for what's going on with you, you have to trust that people speaking up for you and advocating for you mean well. They might not be saying what you are feeling. They might be speaking out of turn or putting words in your mouth. If they say, well, this is what she means to say, and it's not what you mean to say, that's okay. They're trying, you
and
know?
that happens a lot. It's so
Yeah.
true. Stephen Albright said, "I can read, just can't remember any of it."
That's a good point, Stephen. What helped me with that was when I was teaching myself to read, I remembered how to read, how to form sentences. What I did was I bought a pool membership at my local pool the first summer, and I took a book and I read it out loud, line by line every day. And it was the autobiography of a stroke survivor. So I was taken by it. You want to read something that wants you to keep reading and that interests you, then you store it. Think wisely about what you're reading. That's what helps me. When I'm reading for
Mm.
school, it's got to be neuroscience, it's got to be psychology. Right now I'm thinking about taking a class for that that addresses the psychology behind people with disabilities, how different disabilities process their disability. how their processing affects their behavior, how their disability affects their processing. It's just a cyclic thing. You really have to know exactly who you are, what you've got going on, how that manifests in your behavior, and why people draw into you or run away from you. Because you'll have people that'll do both, right? I wonder
Absolutely.
I wonder if anybody, because I have questions for like that I don't get to ask a group setting because I'm not in classroom learning right now. I have questions,
Right.
so I wonder if anybody that is listening or watching today has encountered this concept called ableism and how they deal with it. Anybody deal with ableism?
Yeah. If you let's see here. On some of the questions here. Okay, like Steven says, I can remember conversations almost word for word. Michelle says you're smart. And let's see. Yeah, there's. I'm reading because, but you can see them later. I don't know if you can. You see
Right,
any
right,
of these?
right. I don't want to not answer anybody. If somebody has something that they really want to talk about, just do it in all caps or private message Jerry and get it to him because he's reading for me. I can't I have ADD real bad. So for me to be watching Jerry and listening to what he's saying and reading his lips and paying attention and speaking and processing and communicating myself and then to shift over and try to read all the comments that are in small print.
Yeah.
And I'm an old lady. I mean, I could put my glasses on, but y'all would think I look like um Superwoman or something. I'm very vain. No, I'm not.
That's funny. Um, yeah. And Salute also says thank you for the shout out about her.
Woman, I love you.
I love it. And now you're looking at you're a life coach.
Well, that's what my goal is. I did end up going to school in Pittsburgh for four semesters, and I relocated up to New York before my fifth. So I didn't get my associates in human services down there. I came up here, worked on learning about living my life and healthy living and healthy lifestyles, gained my independence, got my confidence back, got my intellectual groove back, and I went to school in 2016. I've done so much humanitarian volunteering service and giving back because I will tell all of our community, for this person, the way to rebuild a self-esteem that was destroyed when I had my stroke was to do esteemable acts. Go
Right.
volunteer at my local senior center, go help the homeless, go feed in a soup kitchen, go anywhere that you can give back. If you're on disability or you're waiting for disability, that doesn't hurt you. Get someone to get you there. Go to the center and say, I want to volunteer here. Can you have someone come pick me up? Because they'll do
Yeah.
that too. A senior center has a van and it's equipped for somebody with a disability. They'll come get you and bring you there and give you a job to do for the day.
Yeah. And there are here. Let's see. Naomi said if uh, evolism is what it sounds like, I enable Gene, which I know isn't the best. And Stephen Albright says is I don't even know where avolism like enabling.
No, I'll talk about ableism. One of my college professors let me know that this is a real thing. Like we have a lot of discrimination in our nation.
Yeah.
We have racism, we have sexism, we have egocentrism, like all these things where people think that their race, their ethnic origin, their nationality, whatever is the best. There is a huge problem with ableism where abled people think that disabled or differently abled people are less than and have no problem letting them know that. The judging of a person as a person based on what they physically or mentally are capable of is ableism. Preferring a fully able person, denying a person with a different skill set, which is what I consider a disability, just a different skill set, denying them access to participate in certain things. We are entitled to accommodations to fully immerse ourselves in life. So
Right.
embrace your disability status. Say, yeah, I'm handicapped. Yeah, I'll take the tag. Maybe I can get in and out of the store as well or better than the lady with the knee brace on. But guess what?
Right.
I have a brain injury. When I come out, I might forgot where I parked.
Oh, that happens a
So
lot.
So I do use a handicap placard and a handicap space in cases where I might need it when I come out. If I go
Right.
into a big place and there's a chance that I'm going to come out and not be able to find my car and I'm going to have a meltdown or a panic attack, well, guess what? I'm just going to use a handicap spot. And
Yes.
there are people that look at me, everybody's experienced this if you have a tag. Well, you look fine. All of that. That's what ableism really is. People thinking that they know a person is capable of more or should be able to do more or looks okay or whatever. All of that is an ableist mindset. Taking somebody else's inventory, thinking that you shouldn't be on disability, you should be working, you should be in the workforce or whatever. We do what we can.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
I feel like I am on disability. I've been on disability for 13 years, and that enables me to have the life that I have. That enabled me to go to school and invest all of my time in going to school. For some of us, it means we can watch our grandkids. We can
Right.
watch our neighbors' dogs when they go away, when they go to work. We can volunteer at the senior center. We can, whatever. I mean, you can fill your time as much as you want to or don't want to. My biggest grief with people that have brain injuries, mobility impairment, strokes, whatever we've all got, is do not just sit too long in one place and stay stuck there. If you can try to make little incremental steps forward every day in a direction that you want to go in, because it's your choice. Don't feel
Yeah.
stuck because you have to feel stuck. Nobody has to feel stuck. There are resources. Maybe they're not in your home. Maybe they're not in your town. Maybe you need a little help, like reeling some stuff into your reach. But reach out and ask questions and get what you need.
Right. It's
And then,
okay to ask for help.
oh, it is. Who hasn't learned that one yet? That took a while.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
I go to a restaurant and I'm like, man, I haven't had steak in so long because I'm a single girl and I take myself out to posh, beautiful dinners, but without a partner to lean into and say, I need my steak cut. You mind cutting it for me? It's kind of embarrassing, even when you're newly dating somebody. But now, so different. I go to
Yeah.
the, hey, could you just have the chef cut this into real tiny little pieces for me? I got new teeth and I want to try your steak.
Yeah. It's so true. When I first did that, I wouldn't order a steak because I couldn't cut it, and I didn't want to ask anybody. And I used to order salmon because I could do it with a fork.
Yeah,
But
you
now,
limit yourself, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Jerry Wald, I didn't eat avocados are my favorite food in the world, and I didn't eat them for probably 8 years. And now you should see me take one out and pit it and scoop it out and cut it up. It's restaurant level. You could present it on a plate. Beautiful.
Yeah, you learn how to adapt, huh?
Well, I had an adaptive cutting board when I lived in Pittsburgh before I came to New York, and I left that down there when I came up here. But this is how the universe and the powers that be work in my favor, because I believe a positive mental attitude is always rewarded. That's what karma really is.
Yeah.
Casting out what you need to reel back in. You have to put out positivity and energy and belief and faith and hope. And then you will maintain your positivity, positive energy, belief and faith and hope. It just fuels itself. So I moved into this building 12 years ago. A few years later, I met a man named Brian who had a stroke.
Oh, what's the
Right.
odds of that?
Brian built me an adaptive cutting board. Brian is mobility impaired, but his affect is his hips and his leg and his foot. His hands work fine. So Brian, the carpenter, built Tammy the one-handed strokey
Wow, that's great
adaptive
though.
cutting board. And all it is a butcher block with an L-shaped rim on the corner. Do you have one?
No.
Oh, that's because Barb cooks for you, you spoiled brat.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. Yeah, I know. I am
So
spoiled in that.
that's okay. Adaptive boards have an L-shaped guide around the one corner, and that's where
Right?
you would put a piece of bread or a bagel or something so that you can spread peanut butter, cream cheese, butter without it running away from you. It fits in there and you can butter into it. Okay.
Nice. Nice.
So that's what the adaptive cutting board has. One feature, then mine also has 3 stainless steel screws or nails that come up out of it like prongs. They will hold a potato or hold a tomato so that I can make the slices in it.
You did that though. I mean, you showed that
I designed
online.
it. Yeah, I designed it and then I showed Brian exactly what I wanted. And I don't do corn on the cob because I have fake teeth and I can't cut the corn off the cob. If I'm with somebody, I have them cut it off. But my prongs are spaced specifically so that it will hold an ear of corn. If I put it centered on one, the other two will hold it. And I can
Right.
shear corn off the cob and have that too.
Wow. Yeah, that's great. So you definitely have learned how to change the way you eat and cook and whatever. I mean, like you said, you're by yourself.
Right. The catchphrase is adaptation. I think that you don't have to give up your hope in doing anything. You just have to learn how to modify your approach to it.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Just do it a little differently. Do it the Tammy way. Anything can be done.
Yeah.
I did watermelon the other day for neighbors. A whole
Wow.
watermelon. I wanted a watermelon. So I situated the bag in the grocery store in the cart so that I could roll the watermelon right down into the bag and then just pick the bag up. I've roasted a turkey same way. Do it in a bag. You can pull it out of the oven, lift it up, put it on your platter, peel the bag off, and carve your turkey.
You Salu's just saying, Tammy, please video yourself again when you use the adaptive cutting board. She liked it, and so obviously there's other people are saying things. And Stephen Albright says sitting too long is dangerous. I did it and paying for it now. And you're a delightful person, so positive. From Marina. Thank you, Marina.
Thank you, Marina.
Yeah. So, is there what else could you share about? Because you we talked yesterday and we talked a lot. Um, what
Well,
else
I
could you
could
share
share with
right now?
you so many things that have gone right in my life. I could sit on that one shitty little thing that went wrong 15 years ago, but
Right.
it's useless, useless. That just kind of lets you know how far you've come when you look back, but you don't stare at that event. That's where we get stuck. If we look back and stare at how traumatic it was to me, the victims of that period of my life were my kids. They had to
Right.
look at the mother, my parents too, looking at me in that position. My medical needs were being met by a wonderful staff. Everybody was taking care of me. My peripheral people were all inconvenienced. They had to stop working, come to the hospital to see me. I was having my meals brought, being taken to the bathroom. I had it made compared to them.
Right.
And when I
Right.
realized that the care that caregivers need gets neglected so very often. I think we're finally starting to graduate out of that now. They're developing their own little connections and needs for respite services. They need relief. They need to get out of the house. They need to go get their hair done, their nails done, shop, do whatever, not just have their whole life revolve around being a caregiver or
Yes.
caretaker.
I agree 100%. Because it is, you know, I, we never knew when we had our stroke what the life is of a caregiver, what they have to now do right like that. It was, I
Exactly.
never knew it.
No preparation at all. That's where what I'd like to do, Jerry, I've talked to you about this. That transitional life coaching thing for me is to
Right.
get access. My whole reason to get a degree in human services was to be able to get access to a family when their loved one is in that setting before they bring them home. Let me work with the family and say, this is what we want to resource before you bring this person home. This is going to happen. Let's make
Right.
sure you have the bed, the rugs, all of the house right. Let's get everything done at home. Then I'm going to go sit and talk to your person and I'm going to say, they're going to be tough. You're going to have to be patient with them. I've met your family. They're going to be tough. They're not going to
Yeah.
understand. You're going to have to call
Yeah.
me when you're all screwed up.
True. I mean, it's not a cakewalk. I mean,
It's
looking
not.
back, like you just said, looking back, and I keep thinking how I was. Wow. It's just
I'm telling you, and I remember it. I started writing a book that many years ago. I had a portrait done of me looking back over my shoulder, black and white, and I swore that would be the title of my book someday, Looking Back, because my hindsight on the situation and what we could have done preventatively or differently, what we could have missed, taught us so much. I think, was it last night, Jerry, we were talking about my view on the hurdles.
Yes. Oh, and that's a great analogy, the way you said it.
So I feel like, as survivors, as caregivers, whatever, life is, we've chosen to enter this race that has hurdles in it. And that's what life is. Life is a hurdle race. It
Right.
does.
Absolutely.
When you're running up on them, the appearance is that they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger as they're coming. You're coming at them. And then you get to them and you got to make the launch. You got to go. And if your foot takes the hurdle over or you skim it going down, you don't stop running and go back and try to fix it. You keep
Right.
moving. And there's another one coming. So you got to just keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. You'll get to that one. You might hit it. Don't let that one spook you out about hitting this one, because surely you will. You got to just keep trying to bounce over them, keep getting through them. And when you look back, however many were rough, you'll learn something from each one. And the only way to finish the race is just keep moving and get over them. And then if there's one left standing, that when you're running away from it and you look back, it looks like it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller after you clear it, right?
And it's so true. Not to interrupt, but Melissa Overfield says, "I think every hospital or rehab should have someone like you." Um,
That's what I want to do. I want to go out on tour and just go to these places and say, let me see your people.
yeah.
Let me make connections. And then this can all be done virtually from anywhere I am.
Right. But you think, I'm just wondering, like when it happened to me, and if you were there, would Barb? Well, I guess you're gonna approach it a different way. Would she want to handle? Because all she did is cry in the elevator of what was
She
going
needed
on.
that. She needed that.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
I agree.
crazy,
I agree.
Jerry.
No,
I
I
feel
agree 100%.
when
Exactly.
I got released, there were stroke survivor support groups, and in the next room there was family caregiver support groups. But my
Yes.
family didn't realize that we both needed those things. They didn't know how much I needed peer support.
Yes.
And most of my peers didn't drive. When you're a survivor, you don't drive typically. And a lot of people don't drive, but if they have caregivers that are taking them, they're getting to the support groups and they're going on without you.
Yeah.
Now, when I go back to Pittsburgh, I visit the groups that were founded back then, back in the day, and I get to see the moderators that they're like, look at you, all
Right.
grown up and shit,
Yeah. You're all grown up. Yeah. Exactly. I love it.
Everybody
I
thought
mean,
everybody thought I would go to nursing home. That was how bad it was. I was
yeah.
combative and hostile and spitting at people and screaming, "Wash me! I smell like a litter box."
Yeah. I mean, I always say stroke is not for the weak.
No.
True, but I mean, looking back now, I mean,
Now I wash
you,
myself. Imagine.
yeah, it's amazing. You clean yourself.
Yeah, and people, you if people don't understand that this is just a process, it's not going to happen overnight. The event happened in an instant. And that's what people are expecting recovery to happen in an instant. It doesn't. It doesn't.
Yeah.
If I could wave a magic wand and say everybody's well, everybody's healed, if I could go to the right church and have hands laid on me and bounce up and everything work, I did that too. And that's normal. That's normal to explore every option to make your life better. The good news is that even if it doesn't work, you tried something and your motivation was to make your life better, live your best life,
Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely. 15 years for you, and at least me coming up on 11. I'm still celebrating those tiny wins. I mean, they may be small, but I'm still pushing forward. I should be
And
doing more, but
the
I'm on.
the tiny defeats, even the big defeats, there's nothing you can do about it but cover it up.
Right. Right.
Just like an animal kicks dirt over that stuff and moves on.
Right.
That's what you have to do when something doesn't go real well. You have to like lay it to rest in the past and think, okay, so what might have made that go a little better? That's where the nugget or the lesson comes in. You can't redo any of it. I love
True.
Salute. Redo is I love her show she was doing with Tom. The Redo was really reframing their future in my eyes.
Yeah.
They didn't get to undo Tom's stroke or Tom Houdini escapes and all of his falls and
Yeah.
crazy.
Tom and Salu's real life redo.
Yeah. Well, Tom was an adventurer, Tom.
Yeah.
And he was not going to lay down and take what was going on lightly, despite
Exactly.
anything. So I
Yeah,
love adventure spirit, and I love the way that Salute just put it out there for all of us to be a part of.
yeah, exactly. She's still carrying on
I know.
what they started, and which is wonderful. Um,
And
yeah, you'll have to go through the.
he's still with her everywhere she goes. She's
Oh,
always behind
absolutely.
the Tom.
Yeah, exactly. And she's on in just 45 minutes. Oh,
Oh, I have to
yeah,
jump
45
on
minutes.
her. Is she
Yeah,
doing like Tai Chi, or is she just traveling? She's in San Diego or San Francisco now?
she's in San Francisco right now. And yeah, she's still doing breathing, stretching exercises, and having Tom.
Oh,
Tom, luckily she recorded. I don't even know how many salute, but the poems that she got from um, um, Yvonne Kent Pateras, her books, and so she recorded them, so she plays them
is
during her.
Yvonne in this room right now?
She's in here. I don't know where she already made some comments, so she's here. Um, but
If she's
so
here, would you ask her to friend me, because I'm very interested in some of the things that Salute has shared from her book, and I would love her book. I'm a reader.
yeah,
If you can see my bookcase behind me, talking about moving 1,200 miles away, the books is going to be an issue. I'm just saying.
yeah. Let's see here. Salute Tammy. Hope you share your story again here with Jerry Wald in the near future, because some people may not see this today, but you can always hashtag the replay, or this definitely will be, it's on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and it won't go away. So it's there.
Well,
But yeah, you
I'm always willing to pinch hit if you have a host that falls through or a guest that falls through, or if
absolutely.
you have Salute on one day and you want to talk about caregiving and have both of us tandem with you, that would be a fun thing to do.
I would love to. And Stephen Albright says, Tammy, I'll be sending you a message soon.
Send pie, man.
Yeah, send Flocky.
Pie. It's just the season, man. Be thankful. Be
Yeah,
grateful.
exactly. Exactly. Charlene, nice to see you.
Does
Yeah,
everybody
okay, Salute.
does everybody have fall adventures planned? Because that's kind of what's going on with me.
Ah, that's good. Oh, wait, Amazon, Yvonne Kent Pateras.
It'll
That's
be
where her, let's see, I don't, if I move my head, whoops, there it is, right there.
you
See
threw
the
the
blue
link in
book?
there?
Salute. Can you put the link in there? I know you're just sitting around, right? No, great idea, Tammy. That will be fun. Yeah, let's do that. We'll plan that. The three
Plan.
of us.
Oh, anytime. I would love to get a young survivor to come on. I remember one time you had a mom-daughter team. They were fantastic too.
Yeah, Kaylee. Yes, thank you, Mike Peters. Great interview. You know what? Yeah, she's she's amazing. Because she was 16 or so, but then there's another gal coming up who has been on before, and we talked about it yesterday. Who she was sick. A She was a freshman or so in high school and had two strokes. It's just crazy. There's no discrimination. I'll be sending the link. Okay, so Salu's going to send it to you, the link.
Okay. The main
But
thing I feel like people need to understand is, like, for me, this is just about what I'm doing. And I heard some positive feedback on here, like becoming a transitional person and helping a family and a
yes,
facility patient tie that transition over. Jerry and I were joking in the backstage area before the show started today about it's almost like when you go to get a pet before you bring a pet home. You want to plan for the bringing home of the pet. You want to kid proof or pet proof the environment, be prepared for toileting problems, be prepared with the proper food and feeding, make
Yes,
sure that the pet has its own space to get away from everybody or other pets if it needs to. That's important. Time out for a brain injury survivor is so important.
absolutely.
I would get so flooded and so overwhelmed looking at my grandbabies and my kids and remembering their childhood and looking at the twinkling lights in the Christmas tree and having flashbacks of what we lost and
I know.
emotionality of my life being like a TV show. And then I would get all jacked up and somebody says something and I'm like, well, what does that supposed to mean? And my whole demeanor changes.
Yeah. Oh,
And
I
my
completely.
girlfriend kicked in and I'm having a moment. Now I know I just need time out when that happens.
Yeah, exactly.
And
So what would you?
nobody,
Oh, go ahead.
no, you go because I want to answer
Oh
your
no, I
question.
was just going to say. Yeah, I was going to say. What would you tell somebody that's going through those? Like you, me, whoever here that had the stroke right away, and the caregiver or the stroke survivor. What would you tell them that's going through? You know, what do I do now? This stinks. That I had a stroke or a brain injury. I don't want to. I've heard some terrible things before. How can you inspire them? Before you already did, but
I feel like for me, the main thing is to reassure them that this is not like if a caregiver came to me and looked me in the eye and said, I am so sorry this is happening to you. This is not too much for me. I know it's too much for you, and I'm going to be here with you. I will get you through this. I will stand by you, even if they're not able to. If they just give you that assurance in the moment that
yes,
they will be. If they eventually walk away, hopefully you'll be a little stronger and ready for it. My boyfriend lasted a year. And I understand in hindsight, his heart was broken. He couldn't look at me every day and see that he had no forward vision. He couldn't see that this is what was coming out of it.
right,
You
right,
know, that's the thing. It's very incremental. And if you let your survivor be stuck in where they are right now, they won't be able to envision greater things and move toward greater things. So you have to say, I got you. I'm with you. I'm here for you. We'll get through this. You know, it's going to take time. And you have to believe it's going to take time and encourage them that it's going to take time. And they're not that we as early survivors don't come with patience at all. Not at all.
right,
We want it now. We want yesterday's life right now. We want
right,
everything back to the way it was. We want restoration of who we were, how we were, what life was, what our financial situation was, our job, our peers, all of that. We want everything back. And the
right,
truth is, I will tell you, I don't want anything, anything in my life that I had at that moment to be as it was at that moment when it happened. The people that were in my life were not the right people to be there at that point in time. They needed to take a break. They needed to walk away and heal their grief because they had grief over who they lost too. My kids
right,
lost their mom.
yeah,
They lost their like vivacious mom. They had to grieve all of that. And they
right,
have to come to a place now where they can celebrate this mom like I do. They
yeah,
left because I'm like constantly on a plane going somewhere, taking pictures. I'm at a beach this week. Next week, I'm on a boat. I mean, I'm like salute. I'm everywhere and all
yeah.
over.
I mean, right. They thought it was over, the
Exactly.
partner, whoever, and now look at.
My life is incredible right now.
Yes, I'm so happy for you.
Not perfect. Not perfect. Just saying,
Right,
not perfect.
exactly. Well, gosh, I'm excuse me, but we could be talking all the time. And I really appreciate you being on the show, Ken. And really, we will do this again soon. And
Well,
yeah,
anybody who's on this chat that wants to send a friend request, message me and let me know you're back on why you want to be friends. If you're a stroke survivor, if you're a TBI
yeah,
survivor, I don't talk or hound anybody, but I do let people know in advance that I talk about things that you know, I mean, I don't talk about politics, but I do talk about God and celestial things and faith
Yeah,
and hope and different philosophies on my Facebook page. And I swear a lot and I'm real. I talk about feminism. I talk about a lot of powerhouse stuff. So if you want to be
yeah,
friends, we can be friends. And if you friend me and then you say this woman is crazy, she's not my flavor, it's okay to unfriend me. But I'm always looking to improve my ability to reach out to people who might need a little something extra because I'm kind of extra.
absolutely. That's wonderful. I'm really happy and blessed that you were on my show.
Jerry, I love you to the moon and back.
Same here. Love you too, Tammy, and everybody. I'm so glad you guys were here. If you have any questions for Tammy, please in the chat or private message her. She'd be more than happy to
Yeah,
answer.
when I go back and read all of these, can I individually answer things?
Absolutely, you that would they would love it. Everybody would love it because we love
I
to
will do
include
that.
everybody.
I will do that. I'll go review the replay, read all of the comments, address them, and if I see somebody that I feel like I might have a more stuff to share with, I'll friend them too.
Perfect. That would
Okay.
be. I love it. And
Sunny and 70 in upstate New York. I'm going to gather some leaves for a crafting project. That's my job today.
wow, so nice. It's just been raining all morning, so
Rain, rain, go away.
yeah, exactly. Well, you guys, we love you, and Tammy, love you as well. And we'll have a wonderful. We'll be chatting just 1 second here, but see you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Everybody have a wonderful